welcome to this video. If you're new, my name is Katie, and today I'm going to tell you about how I went from being a side hustle YouTuber to a six-figure entrepreneur while I take you along on a bit of a day in my life. So we're starting off with the classic morning routine, and honestly, as dorky as it is, I actually wrote out my to-do list to make myself feel accomplished and more organized than I really am. Maybe I'm overstating things, but when I think about what really caused me to be as successful as I am, I think this dorky level of organization is probably one of the biggest factors. I really think that writing down what you want to do, and as my mom always says, planning your work and then working your plan is really what takes you from just being a dreamer to being a doer. So what's involved in my morning routine? Well, I like to go for a walk in the morning. I leave my walking clothes sitting out on my dresser so I can just grab them and quickly get changed. I eat breakfast and brush my teeth before I leave, and then I head out to the park, and I like to listen to an audiobook or a podcast while I walk, and lately I have been listening to Atomic Habits by James Clear. I find walks in the morning to be so energizing. Getting outside really improves my mood, and it just helps me have some quiet time to myself, and I feel like that's when I come across the best ideas or get the most inspired. After I'm done my walk, I'm just gonna come and sit down and start working pretty much. Growing my business has never been about knowing what I'm doing in the long term, to be honest. I constantly feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I always just try to make the next best decision. So this has meant that my path has not always been very linear, and I've probably come across as less than consistent to other people, which would be a fair assessment, I think. But trying to think in terms of long-term goals can be really overwhelming, because you're like, I don't know how to start this. Like, I don't know how to build from 0 to 100. So then you just think about, how can I build from 0 to 10? And then when you get to 10, how can I build from 10 to 20, and so on. And then eventually you'll get to a 100, but it's probably not going to be in the same way that got you from 0 to 10. How I went from being a side hustle YouTuber as a teenager and university student to running a six-figure social media marketing agency is definitely not a linear path. And I also did not end up where I expected to be at all. To give you a very abridged version of how we got here, it all started with me being a really dorky YouTuber and kind of having a bit of a reputation for that, to the point where I started coming across opportunities in my life through connections that I had to do video projects for other people. The first paid freelance video project I ever did was for my music camp. That's right, I went to band camp as a teenager. I played the viola and I loved every minute of it. And a few years later, I came back when I was a second-year university student to create a promotion video for their website. That's when I realized you could get paid to make videos for the internet, even if it wasn't just on your own YouTube channel, which is what I was always really focused on. I dreamed of doing brand deals and all of that stuff, but I obviously didn't have enough subscribers for that. But in the meantime, I realized other people, primarily businesses, would be willing to pay you to make videos for them, for their own marketing purposes. So that's what I started doing as a part-time side hustle in university, and I really grew to love it. I loved making videos. I found it fun to work with other people on videos, but I also started to learn about the challenges of, client work and dealing with revisions and how contracts are important. So that was all going fine and dandy, and then my YouTube channel blew up. If you want to know more of the backstory of that and how it kind of affected me, I do have a video all about that story that you can check out. But essentially, I had a following online all of a sudden, and the people that were watching me were interested in working with me. So people that found me from my YouTube channel were looking to hire me to do Instagram work for them, which was definitely a little bit different than what I was used to with my freelance video stuff, but I had always loved content creation, and so I took the skills that I'd developed over years of making YouTube videos, making my own content for Instagram, and then translated that to creating content for business owners and other content creators. And it grew super fast, honestly, because in 2019, I was doing this completely solo. And after picking up a few big recurring clients, I realized that there was no way I was going to be able to continue making content on my YouTube channel and also doing all this stuff for clients. So I started hiring people, and it was sort of just a snowball that kind of rolled down the hill and got bigger and bigger, because over the next year and a half, I went from being totally a solo freelancer to now having a team of 8 freelancers that work with me. And that, I guess, is the short version of how I created a 6-figure online business. I don't know, it still feels really weird to even say that. And I also still have a lot of insecurity about it, where even when I was thinking about making this video, I was like, oh, but I've just kind of passed 6 figures. It's not like I'm high 6 figures, so I don't really know what to do. There's so much imposter syndrome, I feel like, because, my business has been successful, but I feel so weird claiming that. I don't actually believe it somehow. So anyway, that's some inner mindset work for me to work on. But in the meantime, I can tell you some of the main things that I think really helped make this happen. Okay, let's get into it. It's impossible to deny that a large part of my success kind of came about because the YouTube algorithm gifted it to me. But I would say that a more proactive way of framing this point is that a lot of my success in my business so far has come from making just a ton of content and posting it online and growing an audience because of it. Obviously, I'll be the first to admit, a lot of this does come down to being in the right place at the right time, kind of getting lucky. I was making videos for years and years and years before I had one that kind of exploded and allowed my channel to start growing. But I really took advantage of that and kept making content that supported the mission of my business. And maybe it comes across as super basic, maybe this is something that you've heard before in all of the videos about business, but I think in our modern era, if you're trying to grow an online business, it's undeniable just how important it is to create content that's going to help drive traffic to what you're providing. For me, that was YouTube. For other people, that could be a podcast or a blog or a TikTok maybe. But the point is, you're going to have a way easier time generating leads for your services or finding customers for your products if you just have a lot of brand awareness and a lot of people who know who you are. So again, it's probably obvious, but start making content. That is going to help you get access to way more potential clients. But depending on the kind of work that you're doing, it might also mean a little bit of a pivot, which brings me to my second kind of solid, tangible point of how I was able to grow my business from a side hustle to 6 figures. And that is not being afraid to learn new things, change, grow, and pivot when the time arises. So like I have said many a time on this channel before, I used to be a freelance videographer. I worked with local businesses. I would go physically in person to shoot promotional videos for people. But obviously, once my channel popped off and I had all kinds of viewers from mostly the United States, but all across the world watching me, I obviously could not just go in person and make promo videos for them. Plus, they weren't even asking for promo videos, they were asking for Instagram services. And so I changed what I was doing. I altered my service offerings to start making Instagram content. And this kind of brings me back to the next best decision thing. When I started this, I didn't have a very clear vision of exactly what my sort of end point, what I wanted this agency to look like. I didn't even think that I would grow an agency. I was just like, this is what there is demand is for, this is what I shall supply. And I think having that flexibility is really going to help you actually become profitable. Now, whether or not that is the exact road to happiness, something that I have been figuring out, but I know that it works in business anyway. And part of this too is being willing to learn new things and not be afraid to put yourself out there, go find the resources that you need and acquire new skills. which is the perfect time to mention the sponsor of this week's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community filled with thousands of inspiring classes for content creators like you. Look, whether you want to learn about social media marketing, video creation, digital illustration, storytelling, or business, you can learn it on Skillshare. So if you are finding yourself in a place with your business where you can see that your customers are asking you to expand into a new area of expertise that you don't feel confident with yet, you can go on Skillshare and find a class that will help you get to that point. For example, if you are finding yourself being led into the world of video and you're a little bit scared about doing this whole YouTube thing, then I would highly recommend you check out MKBHD's course on Skillshare called YouTube Success, Script, Shoot, and Edit with MKBHD. If you've ever looked for a tech video on YouTube, then you've definitely come across Marquez and you'll know that he is seriously skilled, so learning from him is definitely going to bring your YouTube game up to professional. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, which means there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes. So you can stay focused while you're learning and follow wherever your creativity or your business takes you. Best of all, it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers that use the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership, so make sure you go check that out. And of course, remember to not be afraid to learn something new, because it just might help you expand your business in the right direction. Okay, let's talk about the third thing that I think was really impactful in my growth as a business owner, and I think this would have gone a lot slower had I not already had this in place. And that is having an offer or some kind of paid service already ready to go when you create your content and you hopefully acquire this new audience. And I see this happen a lot with new YouTubers. Like, I feel like a lot of people in the same position as me in terms of like audience and like viewership probably wouldn't have as big of a business, and that's because people are out here making content. They don't necessarily have some kind of service or product offering when they blow up. Now, as I said in the last point, I definitely kind of found my way into what I should offer as the demand kind of was there, but I already was freelancing. I kind of offered consultations here and there. Like, I had the idea that I could offer services in exchange for money. And that really helped me then when all of a sudden I had this whole audience of potential leads. I could, capitalize on that. So make sure that if you do want to go down this path of online business, when you are working on creating all this content and hopefully eventually reaching an audience through whatever means you have chosen, that once you reach that audience, you actually have something to sell to them. It doesn't have to be in its final form. You will definitely iterate and figure things out as you go, but if you have some kind of offering that at least people understand that you're here to provide services or whatever it might be, you'll have a much easier time getting that going. So to really quickly summarize, I had an existing business with existing offerings. I had been creating content for a really, really long time. That content sort of blew up and all of a sudden gave me access to a whole new realm of potential customers and leads. And finally, I wasn't afraid to pivot or try new things when the time came. And I think those three really actionable things are a big part of what led to my success, obviously combined with all of the other sort of soft skills that I've been talking about throughout the voiceover in this video. Today was technically a stat holiday here in Canada, so I was working anyway because I had to make this video, TBH. But afterwards, Dan and I went strawberry picking, which was super fun. We love to go berry picking as a summer activity, and I find it so satisfying. And this is gonna sound so silly, but when you're so used to just getting grocery store food and you live in a city, it's so cool to actually take something that's growing on the ground that came out of the earth, and you pick it with your own hands and now you can eat it. And I just think that's awesome. Maybe that sounds really granola, but I like reconnecting with nature, and this was a really fun way to do that. Honestly, for a lot of my life, I've had kind of a complicated relationship with rest, I think, because I've just always been so focused on productivity and when I was in school, getting really good marks, and then now feeling like if I'm not working on my business, then I'm slacking, and every minute wasted is going to translate to decreased revenue. And I just really put a lot of pressure on myself to work a lot. So I'm trying to be more intentional about taking moments for self-care, and I really feel like today going strawberry picking felt like self-care. We also went swimming in the evening, which I didn't film because it's a pool. But I'm trying my best to find those small places to relax and feel more at peace. So that's it. There's no secret trick or anything, just a formula that I think a lot of other entrepreneurs are using on the internet these days. Maybe this was interesting or insightful to you. I hope so. Let me know in the comments if you are working on growing your own business, because I would be so curious to hear from you all what you do. I feel like we chat in the comments and I recognize your usernames, but I'm like, I don't know what y'all do for your work or your passion or whatever. So let me know if you are running an online business and if this was interesting. And as always, I hope that you are having adventures and following your dreams. I know I am, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!